Hey team, welcome back to the channel. I've got a secret for you. I love spreadsheets. As a corporate finance professional, I've worked in Microsoft Excel for over a decade, which means I've put about 20,000 hours into this program. Now, many people would call this Excel hell, but for me, it's heaven on earth. So I'd like to take the chance to teach you some of the basics for Excel 365 or Excel 2019 so that you can understand how to build something very simply in Microsoft Excel. So what I'm going to go through with you is how to create just a simple budget within Excel. And as we're going along, I'll teach you a few basic navigation things in Excel and a few keyboard shortcuts along the way to help make things a little easier, and then throw in a few charts and things that will help you kind of pretty up the presentation here. So these principles will be applicable to other projects that you have to do in a spreadsheet. If you find this kind of content valuable or any other personal finance related topics, make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the thumbs up button. Let's jump right into it. First things first, I opened up Excel here and you see a screen similar to this, and I want to have a new workbook. So I'm going to hit blank workbook right here in the top left, and it's going to open up a new workbook. So let me just introduce you to what Excel looks like and a few of the basics. If you've already become familiar with Excel, bear with this. I'm just going to talk through a few key things. Up top here, this is called your ribbon. So in the ribbon, what you'll find are the commands that will help you to be able to do what you need to do within Excel. So here on the home one, you're going to see your clipboard, font, alignment, number, so on. So very similar to if you've used Microsoft Word or PowerPoint. They do a very good job of keeping the Microsoft products consistent. So as you go through here, insert, you'll see where you can add tables, pivot tables, pictures, add-ins, charts, and so on. Layout will let you change the dimensions, themes, orientation, and so on. Formulas, you'll see direct access here to the formulas in Excel where you can choose them from a drop-down if you're unfamiliar or if you don't have them memorized. When you kind of first get started with Excel, this is a great resource in case you don't know something off the top of your head. Data allows you to connect to external data as well as manipulate data that you might bring into Excel. Review gives you the opportunity to check spelling, add comments, and have the protection features that are in Excel. View changes the page view as well as zoom and having different panes frozen or unfrozen and switching windows. And then help is your basic help function. I want to save this so that I don't lose my work. I'm going to click here on the little floppy disk, and it's going to ask me where I want to save this. So I'm just going to save this as budget demo, and it'll give me the option to choose a location. I'm just going to save it in my documents here. So I'll hit save, and we have it saved now, and we'll continue to save as we go. Let me introduce you just to the spreadsheet itself here. So you'll see it's a grid pattern. The columns are letters, and you'll see it goes A through Z, and then it goes AA, and then it continues all the way along, all the way out to XFD. So you have a lot of columns that you can work with. The rows go by number, and you can see it goes all the way down to 1,048,570 rows. So you've got a lot of room to play here, and this is just on a single sheet. So you have as many sheets as you want to add here up to the limit. But for now, we really only need to use one. So I'm going to use a keyboard shortcut here. Control Home is going to take me back to cell A1 up in the top corner. Let me zoom in here just a little bit, just so that we can see this easier. I know it's hard when you're on a small screen on YouTube. What we'll do here is set up the basics of a budget. What I'd like to do first is think about what's going to be important for my layout. In a budget, I want to be able to budget for 12 months in the year. So I'm going to start here in the top corner. I'm in A1. I'm going to skip over one cell here so that I can start and have this be my label column, and then here will be the actual start of the data. I'm going to say that this is going to be January. One really cool feature here in Excel is if you see in the bottom right hand corner, when I move my cursor there, it's going to change to a plus sign, and then I can click and drag across here, and it knows I'm trying to do months just because I picked January, and so I'm just going to drag it across to December. Now what I can do here, if I want, I can highlight these, and if I see when my cursor changes here, I can double click there and it will auto size these based on the words. I'm going to do my control home again, back to the top corner. So now I've got my months. What I want to do in a budget is I want to start with my revenue or income, and then I'll look at my expenses, and then at the bottom I'll see what's left. First, I'm going to just call this top section income. So I'm going to assume that the person being considered here for a budget is paid twice a month. This is how a lot of people are paid. If you're paid biweekly, kind of similar, but I'm going to say that you're paid on the 15th and the end of the month. So we'll just call this check 1 and then check 2. What I can do here from a design perspective is I can take these two and highlight them. What I did here is I just hit shift and the down arrow, which lets me highlight two. I'm going to go up here to alignment, and I'm going to do this increase indent. So now it puts a little space here so we can see that these two both fall under income. So if I know that I have a steady amount being paid here, I can put the same number in all of these. First, let me just type it in. So I'm going to say that as an individual here, this particular person makes $48,000 per year. So $48,000 per year, $4,000 per month, and then that divided by 2 is $2,000 per paycheck. I'm going to put 2,000 here and hit enter. And what you can do now is you can come up here and you can go here and hit copy and then hit paste, and that will copy and paste it. Or you can hit Control C for copy, and then I can hit this whole area if I want, and Control V, and that'll paste it. Now I can go back here. Now that I see these are kind of hidden because of small words here, May, June, July, double click again, and now I've got this formatted. But maybe I don't like seeing these as 2,000 like this. I want to see it as dollars. So what I can do here is up here, home, number, hit that dollar sign, and now I see $2,000. But I don't like seeing decimal places in my budget. Going out to the pennies in a budget is kind of false precision because we know we're not going to earn and spend an exact cent. So I'm going to hide those. Here I can decrease or increase the decimal spaces. So I'm going to decrease the decimals there by 2. And again, if I want to resize, I can here. Just to keep it manageable, I am going to zoom out just a little bit so we can see everything all on one screen. What I would like to do now is be able to see my total income for that month, assuming there's no other source of income. What I can do here is go to AutoSum, and it's going to put the sum formula in for me, and I can just hit enter. I can copy this over, or I can also go back here to the corner and drag it across. So there's lots of ways in Excel to be able to do what you want to do. So do whatever is comfortable for you as you learn and improve, and you'll be able to move quickly through this. I want some kind of indicator that this is a total. So I'm going to take these, I'm going to highlight them, and then I'm going to add here under font, these are borders, I'm going to add a bottom border. So now you can see there's a line underneath it. Now, when you're working in Excel, maybe you don't like to see the grid. That can be kind of cluttered when you're looking at it. So you can always go up here and change it and just go View and uncheck grid lines. And so then that gets rid of it. So it's a little bit cleaner of a look. However, it does make it a little bit more difficult to be able to see how things line up visually. So for now, I'll go ahead and add it back, but know that you can do that. Now I've decided this is the income. Now, in this exercise, we're just going to assume this is after-tax income. So if it was pre-tax, you might want to have some kind of factor in here to say that. But really, from a budget standpoint, it's easiest if you budget at your net take-home pay. So that's what we're going to do for this. Next, I want to look at expenses. So here I'm going to create a list of expenses. First things first, I'm going to start with something that I think is important, and I'm going to say donations. So whether you feel like donating to your church or a charitable organization, I think it's always good that we have that kind of mode of giving back. So I like to put that up at the top just to prioritize that for us. No matter how far along you get, it's always good to give back, even if it's small. I'll put that first, and then I'm going to try and organize by priority the things that need to be paid. So here I'm going to call this mortgage slash rent, depending on what your situation is. And then next, I would think we'd want to do our utilities. So I'm going to actually list them out. So I'm going to say electric, and you might have a situation where your electric and gas come in on the same bill. So I'm going to assume that here. Then I'm going to say the water bill, and then sewer and trash. These may be combined, they might be separate, but I'm going to list out all of those utilities. Next, I'm going to say insurance. So this isn't medical insurance, which would typically be deducted directly from your paycheck. I'm calling this is going to be either home or renter's insurance. Now, typically you would have your homeowner's insurance in your escrow account, in your mortgage payment. So for this case, it really applies to renter's insurance, and then maybe, let me get rid of home, and I'll call this auto insurance because that would be one that you would definitely need to pay. Let me resize this. Very good. What else would come? If you have a car payment, I would put that there, hit enter. Then let's say we have gas for your car. We're going to say cell phone, internet. I'm going to call this TV or streaming services. Now, depending on whether you have kids or not, you might have some kind of savings for college. Now, what's one thing I left out here that's probably pretty important since I was prioritizing? I forgot food. So let's say, where do I want to put that? So if I need to go back and say, oh no, I forgot something, it's really easy. I can just click here, highlight that row, and then I'm going to right click and hit insert. And now I've got a new row in between. So I can go back up here and I can add food. So food could be eating out, it could be groceries, but you can further break that down if you want. I'm just giving you some general categories here for the sake of the exercise. Next, I'm going to keep scrolling down. I'm going to call this emergency fund. So it's important to save into your emergency fund. Maybe you want to have a set amount, $50 a month, that goes into there until you can build it up into the amount that you want to see. And then finally, let's add the more discretionary type categories. So this is where I might say travel, entertainment, personal care, and fitness. I tend to lump these two together. So personal care would be getting a haircut, going to the nail salon, fitness if you have a gym membership or if purchases of fitness equipment. And then finally, I'm going to leave an other bucket as sort of a catch-all. This would be other, miscellaneous purchases that maybe don't fit into one of these other standard categories. So now you can see I've got quite a bit. So to sort of clean this up and organize it to make it easier to view, I'll click here, and then I'm going to use the keyboard shortcut Control-Shift-Down arrow to highlight all of those. And then I'm going to go home, and I'm going to do what I did before, and I'm going to increase the indent. So now you can see that I've got these indented here showing that they're part of that expense. So what I need to do is understand how much I want to budget into each of these categories, keeping in mind that you definitely don't want to have a budget that exceeds what you actually earn and take home. So let me start with the sort of core priorities, and then we can fill in as we go. So I'm going to assume that the rent that's paid here is $1,200. Electric and gas we'll call 150, water maybe 40, sewer probably paid quarterly, but we'll say it works out to be about 35 bucks a month. Maybe trash is the same. Food, we'll say is 400 for now. Auto insurance, and maybe if you have a rent here, renter's insurance is pretty cheap, but we'll say combined, these are maybe 150. Car payments, we'll say we have an inexpensive car, but a $250 payment. Gas runs about $200. Cell phone, we'll call $80. Internet, 60. And these are just estimates. Your situation will vary. And then what I want to do here, I'm going to go and I'm going to hit my auto sum again. And you can see it's detecting what area you probably want to sum. And then I'll hit enter. So now you can see where your expenses are in relation to what this income number is. So now I can sort of fill these out. So say I have a daughter and I want to save for her college and say 50 bucks a month there. We'll say same thing for emergency fund. Travel, this would be maybe you're saving up to go on a trip for the holidays, so maybe you need to save 50 a month for that. Entertainment, this could be going to the movies or going to an amusement park, so maybe you want to assume $50 here. Personal care and fitness, maybe you have a gym membership, and maybe you need shampoo, deodorant, those kind of things on a routine basis. Hopefully you're using them on a routine basis. We'll say that's 75 bucks a month. And then other, we want to have something here, we'll call it 150. And so then here we feel comfortable with that, and we want to be charitable and say we're going to donate a percent of our income, whatever that is. We'll say we're really generous and we're going to donate 10% of our take home pay. So now you can see if I take these two numbers, I'm going to say here, this is what our balance is. So this is whatever's left. And then this can be assigned based on what you feel comfortable with once we're done. I'm going to use an Excel formula that's a kind of a manual formula here. And I'm going to do the equal sign. And then I'm going to scroll up and I'm going to take that 4,000 minus this 3,085. And that leaves $915, which is pretty good here out of our budget. Here, I don't like how this one's indented because the balance is not a subcategory, it's a main category. So I'm going to decrease that indent. And you can notice the formatting didn't necessarily do what I wanted it to do here. So this one's formatted as a dollar sign here. These aren't. This one's got an error. It doesn't like something here. Oh, it didn't catch the donations. So now I've clicked in here. I can drag this up from the corner and catch that. What I should do here is I want to have the same format down here as well. So I'm going to take this one. I'm going to use a feature called Format Painter. So I'll click up here, Format Painter, and I'm just going to highlight everything down, and I'll even highlight down here for consistency. And you can see it's all formatted now. I'll add this bottom border, and now you can see I've got 1 month nicely set up. So what I'll do here, I'm going to assume, just for the sake of argument to start here, that this is going to be the same. So I'll click here, and then I'm going to hold down the shift button, click here, and everything's highlighted. And now again, go to the corner. I'm going to drag this across. I can't see what columns we are, but that worked out perfect. So now you can see this is where we're at, and you can see everything for the year. Let's take a look and say, okay, you can pick through here and say maybe electric and gas are going to be more in the summer because you're running air conditioning. So in these months, maybe we're going to be more like 200 a month. So I'm typing this in the one cell, even though I have 3 cells highlighted. If I hit Control Enter, it's going to apply that to all the highlighted cells. So now we've got that in there. If we have any other item like that, we can go through and change these individually. But for now, this is what we have. You can see a nice little format for our budget. Let me zoom out here, and you can see we've got a whole year planned out. So the next step would be, well, what does this look like in total? So I'll go over here and I'll type total, and we'll say this is for next year, 2021. And now I want to add up everything. So I'll highlight these three cells, and now I'm going to manually type in the sum formula for you to see. I'm going to go equals sum, and you'll see formulas begin to pop up here. Sum is right there, so I hit the tab button, and then I'm going to highlight everything here just in the row I'm in. I'll close that parentheses sign, and then hit Control Enter, and that will apply it to everything there. Now I have the formula here, and the formula I can go and copy and then highlight down here, and I can paste it, and it will apply that there. And I'll paste it here too. So that's perfect. Now I want the format to carry over. Again, I can use our friend, the format painter, and then I'll just go here and click on that. And now you can see it's all formatted just like that. So this is now my simple budget. Now you can clean this up a little bit and make it so it's a little easier to follow along with if you'd like. I'm going to go and highlight these two. If I hit Shift and the space bar, this will highlight these rows. Then I can go here, Data, and hit Group, and it's going to group these two rows, so then I can hide them. And now I can see my income is summarized here just with that total. And I can do that same thing here with the expenses. Here, Shift, space bar, Group. And then again, I can go over here, and then if I want to click on that, I can hide it. So now I can see them just right on top of each other like that. So boom, boom, boom. That's the budget. Now I'm going to do the same thing here on the columns. So I can highlight these and I can group them, but instead of using the ribbon, I'll use the shortcut key, which is Shift Alt and the right arrow, and that will add the grouping, and then I can click on that to hide it. And now I can see just a summary here for the full year. If I go back here and open up the expenses, what I'd like to do is I'd like to understand what items make up this total expense. So I can go insert a chart, and I'm going to do a 2D pie chart. And here you can see it's trying to get the data, but it doesn't like this format. So I'm going to try and adjust these areas and see if it will pick it up. And look, it's pretty clever, and so it's picked up what every item is. So if I want to see more of this, then I can resize, and you can see what builds up into our expenses. You can see the big chunk here is orange, which is clearly the mortgage rent category. And I can play with this too. So I can rename this, and I can call it expenses 2021. If I want here, I can go ahead and add data labels here. That will say what the actual amounts are. So there's a lot of functionality that you can do here in your charts. So here, I'm going to resize this chart. And if I resize it to where it's in the same area, when I hide this, the chart will hide too and stay with those expenses. So now I'll open this back up, and I want to see how this balance is working over time. So what I'm going to do is I'll add just a line chart here. So I'm going to go Insert, 2D line, and you'll see what it's trying to do here. It's grabbing a month I don't want, so I'm going to do that because this isn't truly a month. This is the total. So now you can see this is what our remaining balance is. It's not the cumulative balance. So here you can see we have a pretty consistent amount, but then it decreases in those months where we had just that higher utility charge, and then it comes back up here. So that's an interesting chart, but maybe it's not the most interesting. So now if I say I want the cumulative balance, I'm going to go equals, and I can reference this cell, and that's going to give me just that month. And now I want to add them together. So I'm going to say equals, this is that January balance, plus, we'll go up, and that's the February balance. This is now a cumulative balance. So I can drag this across, and then you'll see this is what we would end up with in December. And you can see here, this is the same number, which you would expect it to be. The total should be the total. So we'll say this is the cumulative, and we'll just rename this monthly. We maybe don't want this name that, so we'll just call this the remaining, because this is the remaining amount. And if I want, I can resize here, and now my chart will include both. Now you can see because of the scaling, it kind of makes this a little bit less meaningful, and it smooths that out with that little blip doesn't show up too much anymore. But now you can see how you can easily add extra lines into your chart. All right, so I'm going to delete this chart. And now I want to go back and I want to open these back up and make this a little bit more visually appealing to someone who might be looking at this if I was presenting it for a business, for instance, or if I'm just doing this with my spouse and I want to make it nice and easy to follow. How can I do that? What might be easiest to make it sort of prettier and make it worth, our visual attention? So now I've got it here. I really want some kind of colors. What do I do just to make it a little nicer? I'll go here to Insert, highlight the area that I'm interested in. So we'll just say everything. And then Table, and I'll hit OK. And then, whoa, look what it did. It made it into a table. I don't necessarily want that, but it did format it for me, which is good. So I'm going to go and I'm going to hit Convert to Range and then hit Yes. And then this now I at least have a color format I can work with. I don't need these extra headers here, so I can just click here, highlight, right click, delete. And now I have some kind of color in here. Maybe this isn't what I want, but this is a way to get kind of a basic layout. I can go through here and manually do this myself as well. So I can highlight all of this and hit Clear Formats, and then it will take me back to a default format. So let's go ahead and change this up just a little bit. I'm going to move this word income up here. I'll delete out this row. And then remember, I had these indented, but I just cleared all the formatting. So I'm going to go back and I'm going to add this back. My numbers are all back to their default. If I want those dollar signs back, I can do that here, or I can select a different format from the drop down. We'll go to accounting, which is a little different, and then I'll get rid of my decimal places. You can see in this format, it keeps the dollar sign left justified. So now we've got this here. Let's add a touch of color, but try and keep it a little bit simpler. So I will take this top row and I'm just going to go here and pick a theme color. So we'll say maybe I want this to be green. Then I can go here and maybe make this a lighter shade of green. Call this a total. And then I can go here. If I select this cell and hit Control Shift right arrow, I highlight across and hit that underline button. And there you can see that's a little bit nicer. If I want this, again, Control Shift right arrow, Control C copy, and then I can bring this down here and then use my format painter again. And now I'm doing the exact same thing. So here, Control Shift down, and then I can Control Shift right, and then we'll make this that light green too. We'll go here, we'll say total. I don't want that to auto do that for me, so I'll decrease that indent. Control Shift right, underline, and then now, oh, this didn't do what I wanted it. Well, I can take this, hit my format painter, and then go all the way across like that. And now we have it in a nice colored format that's a little easier to follow. And then here, maybe I want to say all this is worth having as that darker green. So now I'll just zoom out. Oops. And you can see, just again, a basic budget, nothing too complex. But you can always add or decrease complexity as you choose. You can add additional lines here. Maybe you want to see something that has a nice box type format to where every box has all the borders. That can be easy to follow visually. If I don't like that, just hit this undo button. You can also just go here and say, well, maybe I just want this border to the left. And you can see this sort of divides it nicely. And if I like that, then I'll just hit that format painter. And what I can do is I've got this whole column. Now I can just shift, click down here in the bottom corner of my box, and it's going to take that all the way across. And look at that, that's nice. Take this format painter, put that there, and you can see now it's got everything in nice columns. So as you go along here, you can continue to pretty things up. Maybe I want to center these to make it look a little cleaner. And then I can take my same formatting and I can go up top. I'm going to apply that up here. And then I'll take these two bottom rows because it has that bottom highlighting I like. Apply that there. And then you can see it's all very additive to where once you learn how to do things here, then you can just continue to do those same things. So now it's a lot easier to look at. That's a lot cleaner. And it's formatted in a way that I'm going to be able to follow it. So in a future video, what I'll do is I'll show you then, now that you have, say, a budget in place, what can we do to make sure it's something that we can utilize? So this is the budget. How do we track to it? So if that's something you'd like to see, comment below and let me know, and I'll make sure to do that in the future. If this was helpful for you, again, give this video a nice thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.